In today's highlights of Season of Discovery Warcraft logs, the balanced Druid and Melee Hunter categories have seen some consistent performances, but will their reigning champions continue to hold their spots? Meanwhile, the DPS Warlock and Protection Warrior categories are brewing with intense competition. Who will emerge victorious and who will be dethroned? Tune in to find out as we dive into the details and uncover the latest movements in the leaderboards. First, we have the balanced Druids. Adru from Crusader Strike, US and the Guild Ale and Pals holds the top spot for the 4th day, delivering a DPS of 548.9 and an item level of 41. In second place, we have Innate from Crusader Strike, US in the Humbertism Guild, with a DPS of 528.8 and item level 43. Rounding out the top 3 is Drolzu from Living Flame, EU in the Rats Guild, boasting a DPS of 505.7 and item level 43. The remaining top 10 are Roulette, Athef, Pass, Talang, Eloric Sibi, Sherabo for the 2nd day in a row. End from Crusader Strike, US dominates the Feral Druid category with a DPS of 487.2 and an item level of 42. Hot on his heels is Sionsu from the same server, boasting a DPS of 486.1 and item level 40. Doc Insider from Living Flame, EU holds the 3rd spot with a DPS of 480.1 and item level 43. These top 3 continue to set the pace. The rest of the top 10 includes Blaney, Venus, Gutspiller, Portism, Big Pog Druid, NMX. Next are the Guardian Druids. Swiftycat from Living Flame, US, continues to reign supreme for yet another day with a DPS of 348.8 and item level 41. Sunmi from Gogohan Nu Da, KR, remains in 2nd place, showcasing a DPS of 335.0 and item level 40. Rediscover from Wild Growth, EU, holds steady in 3rd with a DPS of 329.7 and item level 43. The rest of the top 10, in order, are De Lai Boo Hui One Day, Jasty, Teljuripuli, Fuckshufa, What's This, Siloa, and Cold Druid. Zatare from Crusader Strike, US, holds the top spot in the Melee Hunter category for the 4th consecutive day with a DPS of 620.1 and item level 42. Strike Club from Lone Wolf, US, has climbed to 2nd place, showcasing a DPS of 612.6 and item level 42. Men Yaros, also from Lone Wolf, US, now sits in 3rd with a DPS of 592.4 and item level 43. The rest of the top 10 are Krusty Milf, Yang Lichichie, Jessimo, Lopez da Costa, Yateli Ginuo, Banani, and Yang Lichichichi, Punny from Living Flame. AU continues to dominate the Ranged Hunter category for the 3rd day in a row, maintaining a DPS of 514.4 and an item level of 42. Loki, also from Living Flame, AU, holds steady in 2nd place with a DPS of 481.0 and an item level of 41. Breaking into the top 3 today is Seiji from Living Flame, AU, with a DPS of 477.3 and an item level of 42. A quick shout out to the rest of today's top 10. Shawshocks, Zinix, Floramelons, Monofortum, Nelfunter, Nimrol, and Next are the Arcaneme from Heroic Trash, US, continues his reign at the top for the 3rd day, boasting a DPS of 458.6 and item level 42. Close behind is Mewju from Douye plus DW with a DPS of 457.7 and item level 41. Heatstroke from AU holds 3rd place, keeping a DPS of 443 and item level 43. The rest of the top 10 are Quan Shui, E Salamalajikam, Wood, Kalekt, Zepside, Gayata Blast, Hanzi from Shengming. La Yanti W in the Guild Peace and Love maintains his fiery reign at the top for another day with a DPS of 654.8 and item level 43. Kaisnim from Living Flame EU in the Guild Beef Bar is still hot on his heels at 2nd place with a DPS of 638.0 and item level 41. Lullis from Lone Wolf AU continues to hold the 3rd spot with a DPS of 630.1 and item level 43. The rest of the top 10 are Chap, Nuye, Rainy, Sanatic, Vilk, Lance, and a Scar. In the Frost Mage category, Laser Shark from Wild Growth, US, continues his reign at the top for another day, maintaining a DPS of 445.0 and item level 43. Close behind, we have Wei Yi from Gulang, ITW, with a DPS of 439.7 and item level 43. Taiwan from Crusader Strike, US, holds steady in third place with a DPS of 436.8 and item level 42. These three continue to freeze out the competition. Rounding out the top 10, we have Cuties, Cyril, Watersolve, Freakzone, Kuzis, Antizerg, and Xing Bershangshu. Next, we're spotlighting the top 3 protection paladins. Fought from Sheng Ming Lian TW in the guild Chuansheng continues his reign at 1 for the third day, boasting a DPS of 526.2 and an item level of 44. In second place, we have He Eme Si from Shengming Lidian, TW in the guild Chuansheng with a DPS of 491.8 and an item level of 44. Rounding out the top 3 is Tai Li AOC Fooding from Yexing Quan UTW with a DPS of 488.9 and an item level of 43. Let's also recognize the remaining top 10: Bob Dudus, Oh Mama, Shock, Myla Sirius, KO, Renji AGA, and Fakyaz. Our top 3 Retribution Paladins remain unchanged. Yawa from Yixing Quan Yu holds the pine spot for the second day with a DPS of 573.8 and item level 43. Holf from Wild Growth remains in second place with a DPS of 571.0. Juboy from Gamers, also from Wild Growth, holds steady at third with a DPS of 568.3 and item level 44. Rounding out the top 10 are Eos Farah, Wuzi, Si Gohan Han Thum, Shanjiang King, Jajadin Shengguan, and Fan Fidan. For the 4th consecutive day, Woju Peng, gift from Guild Chen Feng's EE Jiaoflang server, holds the top spot in the Shadow Priest category with a DPS of 532.1 and item level 43. Scarapar from the Strong Mental Guild, Crusader Strike server, remains a strong second with a DPS of 520.0 and item level 40. Miss Meng from Shengming Lian stays in third place with a DPS of 504.4 and item level 43. The rest of today's top 10 are Haptics, Bad Class, Zalba Suan, Sivek Norris, Kazupiu, Method, and Karamita. Keep up the good work, champions. Next are DPS Rogues. For the 3rd day running, Don Dakeman from Got Dog and Noog Day in the Guild X leads with a DPS of 513.8 and item level 42. Underface from Living Flame in the Guild Mulgore Police DPT holds second place with a DPS of 490.8 and item level 42. Vida from Crusader Strike in the Guild Apex is third with a DPS of 486.1 and item level 43. The remaining top 10 are Gankyu, Lash the Trash, Ra, Narangha, Zhu Shi Da. For Elemental Shamans, thank from Living Flame, US and Guild Decades, holds the Oaken spot for the 4th day with a DPS of 571.2 and item level 41. Thili from Crusader Strike, US and Guild Humbertism remains at 2, boasting a DPS of 542.1 and item level 41. Shocks from Chaos Bolt, EU in the Guild Kerala Squad, is still at 3 with a DPS of 540.7 and item level 42. The rest of the top 10 are Hank, Mortitide, Luceli, Lihapietka, Webu, The Pain Train. Next, Bosita from Living Flame AEU in the Just Pull Sod Guild holds the top spot for the 4th day in a row for Enhancement Shamans, boasting a DPS of 636.5 and an item level of 43. In second place, we have Really Bad from Living Flame EU with a DPS of 622.0 representing the cause. From across the pond, Ian from Crusader Strike, US remains in third with a DPS of 617.4. The rest of the top 10 are Borderline, Killy, Exi, Gem, W, Okokork, Spinoza, Barsnay. For the 4th day in a row, Taku from Shadow Strike, UC in the Guild Angles remains the top DPS Warlock with an increased DPS of 817.1 and item level of 43. Interhawk from Lone Wolf, EE in the Guild Wu-Tang holds steady in second place with a DPS of 724.8 and an item level of 44. Completing the top 3 is Weiliao Pai Lion Meng from Shengming Laiyan with a DPS of 701.8 and an item level of 42. Our remaining top 10 are Aklis, Benny's, Mangi, Salilok, Winarth Doliring, Alondo from Crusader Strike US, Guild AL and Pals maintains a 1 Fury Warrior spot for the 3rd day with a DPS of 599.5 and item level 43. Mickey from Gulang TW, Guild DU, Kill A+, holds steady at 2 with a DPS of 586.5 and item level 43. A new contender, at Osmos from Lone Wolf US, Guild Chinese Textile Machine, enters the top 3 with a DPS of 579.3 and item level 43. Yesterday's 3 Morfang drops to 4. The rest of the top 10 are Melhard, Zolpi, Banky Master, Monkenus, Sippy. In the Protection Warrior category, Sagie Joel from Gothic and Nuvde continues to dominate at the top with an increased EPS of 413.3 and item level 44, holding this position for 3 consecutive days. Guildmate Mogpo remains in second place with a DPS of 394.4 and item level 43. Epia from Wildgrowth maintains the 3rd spot with a DPS of 394.2 and item level 43. A quick mention of the rest of today's top 10. Durosu, Zhu, Ketchupia, Mentor, Day 6, Wednesday, Lightning Gaia, and Garlish. That is it for March 21st season of Discovery Top 10 Warcraft Logs. Check out our shorts which are focused on each class and spec per short. Like and subscribe to stay up to date with all season of Discovery logs and news. Thank you all for watching.